Hey, honey. My skin looks very white here, huh? Hmm. There's snow on the ground outside, so it naturally reflects, and I think maybe the shirt a little bit too. You know, where our folks are, your grandparents are from South India, South Indian. So my dad, he rides a motorcycle. Your grandfather rides a motorcycle. He rode it for several years back in India when he was there teaching or going to college, and then here he got his first motorcycle, Kawasaki Vulcan 800. This is now more than 15 years ago, I think. And I remember that, and that's what I learned on. My mom learned on a little bit, or she rode on the back a lot. And then he got a big Harley, but why are we mentioning this? Oh, he gets like a farmer's tan, like a motorcyclist tan. So after the summer, by like August, this will be wicked dark, and his arms will too. Then if you take the shirt part, this is super. It's like really brighter than this. So it's kind of interesting, you know. And some people just think people from a certain area or a certain skin color, but you can kind of parse it out and see sectionally where they're from and genetically. And I have a couple of interviews coming up about skin and beauty, about beauty parameters. And one thing we talk about is skin color, vitamin D, melanin, where that word melanin comes from, Melanesia, what that means. It's really interesting scientifically. Okay, this interview, I filmed so much material and have not uploaded it just because I'm so brand new to this stuff that I don't know what to put out there. I can be long-winded. There's so much on my mind and on my heart to let you know about and to get you abreast of. But so what I had originally recorded for this was already 25 minutes. I decided not to do any of it. This is now the next day. It's 24 hours later. I've since got my eyebrows done. I've donated platelets by accident. I meant to donate blood, but the cute nurses there convinced me to donate platelets. There was a promise of Krispy Kreme donuts if you donate, but then I found out that the nearest Krispy Kreme is in Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun. So come on, not that's the reason why I'm donating, but some donuts would have been nice. I'm wearing the same shirt apparently. Yeah, so lots happened in a day. But I'm just going to read down the bullet notes and we'll go through the details of it later. I just want you to know, if you can appreciate the weight of this, I have so much to say about this stuff. It's been spanning now 20 years. So we have so much to talk about here, okay? But this is an interview, which you're going to see that follows. It's a series of interviews that I do with different people who are specialists in their field. This interview I've decided to release first just because of its timely nature. This is a woman who's fled Afghanistan. Her identity has been hidden, name, where she's located, and her face. And we're trying to save a family there that's set for execution by the Taliban. They're high on their list, highest on the list. It includes a bunch of kids and their parents. I just spoke to that family this morning. I've called Congressman Peter DeFazio's office, Congressman Schiff, Congressman McGovern. No success. And so much to say about it. I'm holding my tongue here. A couple notes. When she talks about the bomb blast, think about the soldiers that had to die in that. There's one famous one that they use as like an image, Nicole G. She's a young, beautiful 21-year-old white woman from California going to Afghanistan holding an Afghan baby. And that image was an image for a long time that really pulled at people's heartstrings, as it should have, because what you're seeing there is innocence. What you're seeing there is pure innocence, an innocent soldier and an innocent baby, and that's the Venn diagram. Two cultures that really have nothing to do with each other, and they're there in that moment, And some disgusting man blew himself up under the childhood indoctrination of older men, under this cancerous, festering ideology that hijacked their brain and led them to think that blowing up a bomb at that airport was the prudent thing to do. So people died, okay? And what you're seeing there is innocence. So we're going to talk about all that stuff and why the military-industrial complex is sadly still alive, even though Eisenhower and JFK warned about it. Discussing politicians using the military as a piece in their political game. Military and war is not a joke. It's not a soundbite. It's not a piece. People are dying, and it affects not just them who have died, but their families who are left over to mourn. Okay? Notice the kids' age that she mentions in the interview. Notice how she says courageous women. Not that this is a channel for women, for girls in particular, but it is called dear daughter. So she mentions a lot of courageous women there. Notice that she says, what my judgment says. I think that's important in an age where people are trying their hardest to give you bad information. She's saying what my judgment says. Okay, so you can triangulate people's stories and try to get the truth out of everything. Okay. How to parse info is not sound by Nicole Guy mentioned her history. Okay, then there's a cycle of just history repeating itself. This is now a 20-year thing, okay, that I was right about 20 years ago, and it's 20 years later. So I was a kid when this all got started, and now I was right. And when I'm right, people, okay, yeah, let's just go into the interview. I cut most of this out. This one thing is the image that I put over her voice and her face and all that. It's from 2011 of a young Afghan girl, probably from a tribe, I assume, striking eyes sort of thing. That same sort of image was done by the National Geographic, I believe, in the 80s or 90s, and they found that woman 20, 30 years later. So history is just repeating itself by design. Okay, these people are doing this by design. And if you're, I don't know much about marketing. I hate the idea of advertising and marketing, but if that is skewing your brain into thinking I'm going to have sympathy for them or not, some people will think, well, they can take care of themselves. You know, who am I to take care of? The person that I'm interviewing is a very high end, highly skilled worker in the medical industry. I won't say which one because I have to keep all this a secret. So if that is something that you identify with as a young woman in a professional field, well, that should be what the sympathies are, okay? Or where your sympathies are. Lastly, so much of it had to be censored. I'm not an editor or anything, but so much information has to be censored. I think I already said this because there are 3 or 4 or 5. There's about 5 or 6 people now set for execution. Some of them are kids. Some of them are the folks. And all the identities have to be protected. No one's helping. I don't know what else to do. So I have no clout really by design, and but I'm going to end it here. I don't know what to say. I'm like, it's hard for me to hold back in what I want to say. I can go on for hours. This is 20 years in the making, plus a lot of history before that you can study. So this is my best at keeping it under, 10 minutes. All right, bye. There's so much I want to convey to you. I have to stay private about a bunch of these things for the sake of their identity. But this will be one of countless interviews we'll do about specialists in their field. We have a few coming up. I hope you like. I love you and I love you. Bye.
Face?
Yeah, so let's actually get that on record. For the record, would you like me to block out your face and voice and name?
Just the name and the face, it's all right. Block that. My voice is okay. Keep the voice.
Okay, so name and face, and in your location also we'll keep anonymous.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, you got it. Well, you and I have never met before.
Yeah, nice
Thanks
to
for
meet
coming.
you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on here. I know it's a lot of stress that everyone's kind of going through, but I wanted to have this conversation and kind of get the message out there a little bit. Let me tell you just a little bit about what this is so that you know what's going on.
Yeah.
This is for a YouTube channel called Dear Daughter. They're video essays to my future daughter whenever she gets here. So it could be in 5 years, 10 years, next year, who knows? But it's just kind of a compilation of what's going on in the world right now from people who know their field. For example, I've interviewed like a GI doctor about the GI tract. We are interviewing you. I interviewed a guy with only 15 months to live because he has terminal brain cancer. I interviewed an engineer for the railway system, and just people who know their field, they just kind of speak about it. There's a guy who did a biography on Elon Musk. So he was kind of talking about Elon Musk. Yeah, so it's just all different things. And instead of kind of hearing what we do in the news, we're trying to get, in-depth stories from people who actually know what they're talking about, and just kind of getting their stories for her to, navigate through on her own. So
yeah, that's a very good idea too, for choosing me for this interview. I know that when she will be born, she will hear me. She will learn lots of things from how girls were living in a corner of the world.
Good. I couldn't have. I mean, tragically, I couldn't have asked for like a better conversation then. I
Yeah.
I think yeah, so the house rules for the interview are that you get the final edit of everything. So if there's something that you felt uncomfortable speaking about, just let me know and we can cut it out at the end.
Sure.
If you want the whole thing deleted, we can delete the whole thing. You're in control of everything, and I'll keep your face, name, and location anonymous, but I'll keep your voice. Okay, and then for the sake of identity, the guy that we're talking about in Afghanistan, should we make up a name for him?
Who do you mean?
Um,
It's all right.
I think we should make up a name for
I
him, right? Just for the sake of, because
yeah, please, because he's still in Afghanistan. So let's name him something else.
how's the name? How's the name Ziad? Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll call him
Yeah.
Ziad. And for anyone listening, what we'll say is that, well, I'll actually let you know how I even came across from him is I have been following what's going on in Afghanistan since I was a kid. I'm not sure why. I was just kind of, politically interested in this stuff and how we go to war and why, and, U.S. government, all that stuff. And a couple of years ago, a certain news story came up, and I just happened to, I went on Twitter and I tried to make a connection to go find that person, that, that family involved in the tragedy. And I somehow got in touch with them. And now we've been talking for the past. And
Okay.
when Kabul fell, he was still stuck there, and he kind of messaged me. I sent him like a little bit of cash at that time. Western Union was open, but now even when I offered cash, he said no because he doesn't want it to fall into like the Taliban hands. So he's a good guy. He's like a legitimate person.
He's scared.
Yeah, he's scared.
Yeah.
So please speak on your experience. Everything about you. What's going on. Like, what do you want the world to know? Like, what do you want people to know that you know about that they don't know about? What's really going on
Yeah. There are too many things that I know and the world also knows, but the world pretends that it doesn't know. It's the human situation which is going on in my country, in Afghanistan. We used to have a normal living like anybody else in any corner of the world, like people living in Europe and in America. We had the same living and we were happy, but just and we had so many promises from the world for supporting us, especially for supporting women. But suddenly, in a matter of a few nights, just like Hollywood movies, everything just changed the opposite that we could never even think of or we could never even imagine of. So this is a very unjust world. I would like your daughter to know that she should never trust the world. She should never trust the United Nations or the international community as being justice, as being supportive to the people as they claim to be. They are all liars. They deceived us as women, and they will deceive the world. The only thing that matters in the world is how they keep the power and how they keep the people safe only in the West, not in the East. The East will be destroyed very soon. The East, the countries in the East, especially my country, which has a very strategic location, if you see it on the map, and also our neighbor countries, they will be destroyed very quick only for the sake of people who are living in the West. So that's why I had to migrate despite I never wanted to be a migrant. I never wanted to be a refugee, but to be alive, for the sake of my daughter and my son, I had to choose to leave my country, leave my hopes, and leave my plans. And the life I tried to make for 20 years, I left everything and came here to just be safe.
How did you escape?
Well, it's a very long story. We were never prepared to escape, even when the Taliban entered our city. Kabul city. I used to be a professional in Afghanistan, and I had a pretty very equipped clinic, and I had a very good job. I was teaching at the university as a lecturer, but the story of our escape was just like in a matter of one night, everything changed. When we woke up in the morning, it was a Friday, and our president, we just got the news that the president is gone. The president has escaped. and there's no one to take care of the city. And just in a matter of few hours, we heard one of our neighbors who pretended to be a very democratic person. He suddenly came out with a gun, shooting just under our feet, claiming that he's a Talib. And just in the afternoon of that day, we got the news that the Taliban were attacking the office of my husband, who was working for a company. My husband is an engineer, and he was a so they attacked, they took his cars, and they were asking for him. So me, my husband, and our kids, we decided to leave our home and just go to some relatives because we were scared that they might find our address. But this decision was taken. We got the decision, and we just packed very small, the smallest we could, and we were mentally very much under the pressure. Because just a day before that, we had a very normal life. And by the time we wanted to leave our house, my brothers called me. They were journalists. They told me that they have no place to hide and they are under the danger. Their lives has been threatened, so they want to come to my apartment. And I couldn't say no to them. So they came to my apartment and we were not able to leave. But just as this Taliban's, attacking the office of my husband kept for another day and for another day, we decided to leave as a family. So we all left, and for each night we had to just switch our places because we were scared. Fortunately, because my brothers were journalists, they were on the list of evacuation, and they were evacuating journalists. So after a few days, maybe 3-4 days, that we had no sleep, no appetite for the food, they were able to get inside the airport. And this was going on while the Kabul airport, who used to be a very beautiful and peaceful place, just like parks, it turned to be witness very horrible scenes of people trying to get in the airport and escape the Taliban, and people getting killed there. People just other people were walking, running on the child, and then the kids got killed, and the Taliban were there just firing on the people. So the situation in the airport was very devastating. It was very horrible. People were getting killed on a daily basis. So at this situation, my brothers were lucky to get inside the airport, and then they just sent me a message that they are in Qatar, in Doha. But I had still no plans for myself. And I was still switching my place with my husband. So I urged my brothers if they could find me a way and for my husband, because I was scared for our life. And finally, after 2 days, they told us that they have put our names on the list of evacuation. We had no idea where we want to go out. We just wanted to be out of Afghanistan. We were told that we will receive phone calls. So we received the phone calls. We were asked to come to a specific location with only small backpacks. So me, my husband, and our kids, my daughter is 6 years old and my is only 2 years old. So we reached the specific spot, and there was a bus actually waiting for us, and there were so many other people as well.
Who did you get this phone call from?
Well, this phone call, there were some, we had no idea who was the person, but of course it was foreigners, not Afghans. They were managing these evacuation plans.
Okay.
Yes, but I will explain who was she, because at the end I got to know her, understand who she was. She was a very courageous woman. So what happened was we got on the bus, and the bus started to move toward the airport. But just at the same day we were on the road to the airport, that there was a huge, very huge bomb blast in the airport.
Right.
And too many people, more than hundreds of people got killed. So the plan canceled. We turned back. It got us 3 days and nights to just sit in a bus in the same spot. We were just struggling to get inside the airport, but there was no way, and we were returning back. So these 3 days and nights, there were no food, no toilet facilities, nothing. And the weather was terribly hot in that season in my country. And I was amazed how my kids, they used to have a very cozy life and comfortable life in my apartment. I don't know how they managed to just stay hungry for 3 days and nights inside the bus. And some women were crying inside the bus. For the third day, we were told that there's no way, not possible to get inside the airport and we could just go back home. But we had no way to go back home. Me and my husband, we tried to go to the one of hotels. There were 2 hotels. Still the Taliban didn't get inside those hotels because they were 5-star hotels only kept for the foreigners. So we were able to rent a room in one of those hotels, and we were able to get some food and get a shower. Just after 2 hours, we got another call that there's only 10% chance that we could get inside the airport if you wanted to try it. And then we had no options. We said, yes, we will try it. So some of the people who were with us who also decided to come to the hotel, they decided not to go because they were scared. They remained in the hotel, but we decided to go. And luckily, it was around 1. We got out around 5 p.m. in the day. And around 1 a.m., we were happy to pass the first gate of the Hamid Karzai airport in Kabul city. And it was midnight, and Taliban were there. Our names were on the list. They were just reading the names from the list, and according to the names, they were letting people. But there, when we got off the bus, they separated me from my husband because my husband.
I'm sorry,
was
that
a man,
list was
so
what again? That list was with the.
There was a. Yeah, there was the Taliban because they had the list with them, and there was one person in the bus, a foreigner. I may call that person a guy. I don't exactly know the name, but I assume his name was Jordan. He told us that he was a volunteer from United States, but later on it turned out that he was from Australia. A very popular filmmaker from Australia. He had a camera here. He put a camera here, just right here, and filming us. He was, he was encouraging us all the time inside the bus, and he gave the list to the Talib, and he was standing beside the Talib, and the Talib was reading our names. So there they got separated, me from my husband. My husband went to one side, and I went to the other side with 2 of my kids. And then like that, they told us that we were not allowed to get our bags. We had to leave our bags behind. So we did. We left our bags behind. The only thing I got was just some milk for my 2-year-old son and some food. And then we passed these gates of the airport. Walking on the airport roads gave me very sad feeling because the face of the airport, I remember the last time I got a holiday to India was very beautiful than the time that I saw it. The cars were put upside down, and there were fences made. And so there was one location that they were submitting us to the US forces. So by the time I saw some US forces, it was a relief for me. It was a huge relief for me, even though they were very angry on that time because just a few days ago, I think they lost so many of their friends in the bomb blast. Mm-hmm. But they still, we were happy. And then we had to wait there with the US forces for more than 24 hours, standing on our feet because they had to complete this process. And the whole night we were standing on our feet, and then they told us that not even food is not even allowed. We should only get our passports and computers. Those are the only things we are allowed to get into the airport. And I think our flight was the last evacuation flight. So in the morning of the next day, around 3 p.m., we were able to get inside a huge military plane that I never saw in my whole life. We were just there, hundreds of us sitting on the floor of the plane. There was nothing else except only ropes. We were told that we can get hold from the ropes while we are sitting, and we were all, sitting with our knees like this. We couldn't even move ourselves. because there were a few hundreds of us inside one plane, you know, and I had two
Is
kids
that
with me. And
C-17 plane? Like that giant C-17 plane that they had, the gray one?
oh yes, the gray plane, the silver plane, which is written with the U.S. military Air
Yeah,
Force.
there's a famous image of, hundreds of people sitting on the floor there. Were you on
yeah,
that?
that's same.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly where we sat at. And when we sat in there, and then the doors closed and the plane wanted to take off, this was the time that I noticed a very young girl who was sitting beside me. I think she fainted or something happened to her. And her mother was shouting for her and just telling her, just be strong, toilets are finished, we are on the air. She got well back, and by the time we were on the air, that was the only time I was able to ask somebody from there, where are we going? We had no idea where are we going. So somebody told me that we might go to Germany. Some people told us that we might go to Qatar. We had no idea.
Right.
The only thing I managed to get from Kabul was a small blanket. I got it, and a plastic bag for which is used for trashes. You know, the black plastic. So I put, because I was scared for the weather might be cold, so we didn't know where we were heading. So I put my computers and bottle feeding, and the blanket and the plastic. And by the time, after 7 hours, I think, or 5 hours, the plane landed. By the time, and I gave the plastic back to my husband, by the time the doors of the plane opened and we were out, we noticed that we were in Qatar, because the weather was extremely hot, and the only bag which was a plastic bag, it burst.
Because the elevation
and everything. No, because the weather was extremely hot, and I think it melted the plastic. So our computers and blanket, everything just fell. And then I had the blanket, I put everything on the blanket and just fasten it and use it like a bag.
Right.
So there, how we got to Qatar. And after spending 2 nights in Qatar, they were not telling us anything. They gave us some food, and it was a huge hangar, you know. We were there with a few thousand people. So after 2 nights, they told us that they are carrying us to somewhere else. So, and there in Qatar, it was we got the news that we have a visa and we can come to. So there we tried to talk with the U.S. forces that, you know, please let us come to have a visa, but they said they were not listening to us. So what happened was they got us to another plane, and from there we landed to Germany. I still didn't know first if it was Germany, because they were not telling anything to us. But when that plane landed, there was written Ramstein Airport. So I thought this Ramstein sounds like a German Dutch, so this might be Germany. And in Germany, we spent 3 more nights, but the condition was very worse. We had the hardest part of our trip in Germany, because the weather was extremely cold, and we came from a very hot place. So we had no clothes except a very thin blouses, and there were no food actually, and they were only giving us a little bit of bread with a little bit of jam 2 times in 24 hours, and for that we had to wait 3 hours in a queue. So my getting ill, became, you know, diarrhea and fever, and was not eating anything, and there were no doctors that I could go. So what happened was, you know, every day I was asking the U.S. soldiers there, please let us go, please do something, we have a visa and my sick, until I thought that let's contact the embassy. So we emailed the embassy, and just 2 days after that, they were able to send us two people. 2 people came, they introduced themselves as being from embassy. So they managed to get us in the planes, and then that's how we came to, and by the time we landed, they provided us a home and some food, of course, the things we needed the most. And I was able to get some medicines for my, unfortunately, in a few days, was getting recovering.
Good.
But the thing is, to be honest, for the few months, maybe 2-3 months, I had no idea who I was, where I was, and what I'm supposed to do. And I had these very bad nightmares. It's the 5th month we are here, and the 5th month just got finished. So I'm now realizing that I'm somewhere else, and this is somewhere else, and I need to adjust to things. I need to figure out. So I'm starting to figure out around myself and trying to adjust in this new environment. So we left our apartment like it was. I left my clinic like it was. My desk in my office was just left as it was. And this is how our life ended up here.
Are you allowed to stay there now for good?
Yeah, fortunately, they gave us a status on the second day we arrived here. Now we are formally a refugee here.
Good.
Under international protection program. So we have our cards to stay here for 3 years. This is the card we received. So this is how we ended up here. And like this, we were a very big family, actually. My own family, my brothers, one is in France, one is in the UK, one is in America, 2 are in America. So one is in Netherlands. This is how, we were dispersed all over the world. My father is fortunate, unfortunately, and the family of my husband, they are in Abu Dhabi. We used to all live together, have these weekend meetings and making some food and having these music. But now we are not even sure who is where.
Did they come after your husband because of his connections with the government? Like, is that why they're targeting him?
We were not able to figure this out, but they came because my husband used to have some projects in the south of Afghanistan, which was controlled by Taliban for many years, and they were asking for taxes, Ushur. This is what Taliban are asking. Because
taxes, okay.
Ushur is a kind of Islamic tax.
Okay.
And of course, they never provided it for them. And by the time they got here, they came exactly, even though the office had, nothing written on the office, but I don't know how they find the address. They came to his office, took his computers and destroyed anything that they could.
How did this happen overnight? It's a 20-year war. Trump was negotiating with the Taliban to release 5,000 Taliban prisoners, right?
Yeah.
How did Kabul fall overnight like this? Like, what's really going on that we don't know about? Because there must be like a secondary story or something. And also Afghanistan is, mineral rich as well, and now there are other countries trying to get minerals from it as well. Like, it seems like there's another story happening that we don't quite know about.
Exactly. You came to a very important point, because for the first few months we were also very shocked that we couldn't figure out anything. But after just thinking and following back things in our minds, now I'm able to figure out that it was not a matter of one night fall. It was planned many years ago in the Bonn conference in Berlin, in Germany. They had to hand over my country because my country is very rich in the minerals, and the mines. Afghanistan has, especially lithium, and we know that one of the hot discussions of today's world is getting energy, is creating energy, and my country has millions and trillions tons of it. So how this is happening is because if my country was, my country reached a very specific point, and so many young generations, they got very high, good educations that we were able to compare ourselves with our neighbors. So we reached a very important point that in this point, either they could destroy it or either they could let us to become 100% stable. So they had to hit us at this point. In this 20 years, you wouldn't believe and I had a clinic in Afghanistan. Comparing my clinic with clinics in here, I give my clinic 100 number, I give here 5 number. Because I had the latest, believe me, it's not because of my clinic. I'm telling you very honestly. And the technology we had back in Afghanistan, the level of education we had, the services we could provide was, you couldn't even imagine it. I had the latest technology in my clinic. I could use, a computer-based appointment system, but here they're giving appointments in the notebooks. So I'm amazed. We had so many things. We made so many achievements. We were writing books. We were writing articles, and people. My husband was trying to have businesses run. So we had plans that we will make this much money, and that was going very honest. We tried so hard in this 20 years. But what just happened was very shameful. It is for Afghans. I accept it for us. It's very shameful for the people, for the level of the corruptions we had. So in the first few months, when going back to the maybe start of the year, maybe April or May or even June, the provinces of Afghanistan were falling in the hands of the Taliban.
Right.
Because it used to be for many years, Talibs were getting them and then the government were getting them. So it was either in the hand of Talibs, but as it got, it continued more and more in the hands of Talibs, and we were noticing that so many people were migrating from the provinces to the center of Kabul city where we were living. And these migrants, they had no place to live. Most of them were living on the streets. So me and my friends, we had some plans. We even provided them with the basic things they needed. Some of the times with these local people who were displaced from provinces to Kabul cities, I was telling them that you have escaped Taliban. Don't you think the Taliban will come inside the Kabul city? And they were saying, no, there's no way that they will come. We were so stuck in this belief that, everyone was trying to come to Kabul. And even though if they were living on the street, it was all right for them. So by the time the city of Herat, which is a very important and very one of the biggest cities of Afghanistan in the west, the city of the Herat fell in the hands of the Taliban. That was the first time I got the alarm that this is something serious, and maybe they will come inside Kabul city. But the thing was, let me tell you a very funny thing. While we were reluctant that what would happen in the future, our government, our ministers, our president, they were coming on the social media, on the TV constantly and telling us, it's all right. They will not enter the Kabul city. You have to stay calm, just go to your jobs and just live your own life. There's no problem. Even just 1 day before, 2 days before they were coming, they came on the Saturday, just before that, not Friday, Thursday, on Wednesday before that, I got so confused that because I had some bank accounts for my children, for my kids, I asked my husband if I could go to the bank accounts and maybe get the money who I collected for my 2 kids. My husband said, don't worry, nothing will happen to the banks, but I still managed to go. I got some of the money, but I left a little bit of it because I didn't want to close the account. But when the Friday came, it was Friday, so we had a very normal Friday. There were some rumors, on the street, people were saying the Taliban will come, but still, of course, 80% I was sure that they will not come. Because still on the Friday, there were constant messages, video messages we were receiving from our government superiors telling us not to worry. On the Saturday morning, Saturday is the first day of our week, I was supposed to get a quiz from my students in the university. So I was, just managing, I was in contact with my students. The night came around 11 p.m. at night when we wanted to go to sleep. A friend of us who was working in the bank, he called me, he gave me a message. He told me that please come early morning in the bank because I'm afraid the bank is finished.
So he knew.
So this was another alarm, yeah. And then I told my husband we should have got our money from the bank earlier. It was just, we couldn't sleep, it was just around 12 a.m. that my husband received a call from his friend who was working in a government. The friend told him that the government is fallen. He said somebody else has become a president. and the president has escaped. So this was an alarm for us.
That's
It was
Ashraf
Friday.
Ghani.
Yeah, Ashraf Ghani is gone, and there's Zalmay Khalilzad. Not Zalmay Khalilzad, somebody else. Jalali. Mr. Jalali is going to be the interim president, and the Talibs might enter the Kabul city in the morning. So what happened was this was an alarm. So I jumped and tried to pack my things, because I had these bad memories of when the government regime was changing. There was always lootings and thefts and these things going on. So what happened is I made a small backpack and tried to collect my important things with some food and some medicine in case if I had to escape. We made this our backpacks and put it there, and we couldn't sleep the whole night. And the 6 a.m. that day, I was promised with a friend in the bank, so I tried to make my way to the bank. And so I wore my everyday clothes, like a small, a very short skirt with pants and very small veil. I used to drive a car, but I was scared, so I didn't get my car. I left my car. I preferred to get a taxi. And the way to the bank, I received a call from my university. They told me that I had to come and collect my important documents, because they were not sure what's going to happen. So when I got to the banks, I noticed that there were hundreds of people not in the queue. They were just attacking the banks, and they were asking for their money. There were a few hundred people. So because I had somebody inside the bank, I managed it, to get inside the bank.
Sure.
And when I was inside the bank, so I showed my card, and I had an account in American dollars. So when I asked for my money, they said that there is no dollar left here. All dollars are, they've been taken by the ministers and by officials in the government. There's no dollars. You cannot take anything. So you have to go back. So I changed my way back. I was out of the bank because there was no money in the bank to get it. I wanted to make my way to the university to get my documents, important documents in the university. When I got another taxi, and the way there was on that day, I remember it was a very horrible silence in the city of the Kabul, who used to be a very noisy city,
Right.
as well as a very bad traffic. All the cars were stopped. So I noticed a few schoolgirls, like in the age of maybe 10, 12 years old. They were shouting and crying, saying, "Taliban has come, Taliban has come. Please save us." So I opened the door of my taxi, who was stuck in the traffic, and I asked them to just jump inside to the car. And they were all, sticking in me, and they were all crying. So I asked the taxi drivers, first, maybe we could drop these girls to their families, and then we will go to university. We were able to drop them somewhere near their homes. At this point, when I wanted to go to the university, I got another call from university telling me, "Please stay where you are. Don't come to the university." So this is what happened. I changed my mind. I wanted to go back home, but there was no way to go back home because all the ways were closed. Traffic was bad. So I started, walking because I had these, usual casual clothes, and I thought that there were new people in the city. People were looking at me very deeply, and some people wanted to come near to me. So I started running in the city. So I ran as fast as I could until I was near the house. There I saw somebody coming very near to me and asking me, "Why you're out? Go home." And it made me so furious. I turned my face and told him, "Who you are telling me these things?" And then he went somewhere away. So I noticed that there were usually no police officers. We used to have so many checkpoints in Kabul.
So just for chronological sake, this is just a couple of days before August 18th?
This is no. This August. Maybe it was just. Let me tell you the exact date. It was Saturday.
So that's August 14th.
It was 14th of the August.
Okay, August 14th.
15th of the August. 15th of the
That's
August.
Sunday, because Kabul fell about August 17th to 18th. I mean, at least Ghani left on the 18th, or on the 17th, 18th seems to be when it fell. Yeah, okay. All right, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, it was 15th of August. So I made my way back to home. And when I reached home, I because I still had my friends in the bank, he gave me a call and telling me that there are some money being sent from the central bank to the bank, so you can come and take your money. So this time I tried wearing something very long and with my husband, and we again around 2-3. It was Saturday around 2-3 p.m. We decided to go to the bank, but this time, to our surprise, there were no one on the city, no single human being, and there was no police checkpoints because there used to be police checkpoints like in every 20 meters. So in one of those checkpoints, we noticed that someone with a very interesting face is sitting. Like he had no uniform. He had this horrible face, and there was no police there. We were able to make our way to the bank, and fortunately, we were able to get our money. And then we came back home. So it was the night around 9 p.m. that I was sitting in my apartment that I heard a voice. I was in an apartment on the second floor. Just from outside, that somebody was shouting that the Emirate has come, Mujahideen has come, stay at your homes, don't get out, and I am the mullah of your masjid. So he kept shouting that the Emirate has come. This was, the worst ever news in my whole life I could ever hear. So this is how it happened, and then
what does that translate into?
You want me to tell it in my language?
Well, like, what does that mean that you heard that in that's the worst thing that you're said that you could hear? Like, is he saying now fundamentalist Islam is here or something, or?
Yeah, they were saying that Mujahideen are here, Emirates are here, so stay at your homes, don't get out. It was around 9 p.m. I had these, I just remembered that it was Saturday night, and I just remembered that on the Thursday, just 2 days ago, I had my car coming from my clinic back to home around this exact time, and I parked my car just, in the parking downside our building. So I just heard that they were telling us, don't get out of your house, stay at your house, and Emirat has gotten the power, the government power. So this is how we got the news, and from that time until we reached here, and after a few months, we were like, we couldn't figure what was going on. Right. But now I know that it was a plan. They just did it so quick. They handed us over to the Taliban very quick. They did it very quick because they wanted us, they didn't want to give us time to realize things. And the only thing we could do was to just escape.
And this, they handing you over to the Taliban, that's the police forces, crumbling, you're saying, or the government giving you over? Because it sounds like somehow there was a very rapid tapering off of the police forces, because that Saturday, Sunday, suddenly the city seems quieter. Suddenly, like, the checkpoints are gone and there's a different person there. It seems like almost there's a communication saying everyone should go save themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. It was just on the Saturday afternoon that police were gone from the checkpoint, and the same day at 9 p.m. they were announced under our apartment that Emirat and Mujahideen has come.
So where was the Taliban hiding before all this? Were they just in the countryside and not in Kabul as much?
Well, everyone knows that their motherland is Pakistan.
Okay.
And they accepted. They were coming from Pakistan all the time. Their families are in the Pakistan. They get all these military education back in the Pakistan. But all these other months before that, they were fighting in the provinces. And I don't think that they were lots of Talibs, because on the coming days, when we tried to get out on the streets, and I was, because we used to have, like I told you, police checkpoints in every 20 meters. But after a few days of coming Taliban, you could hardly see a Taliban on the street because there were so many numbers of them.
Okay.
Yeah, you could hardly spot one Taliban on the street because there were not so many of them.
But at the time when there was hardly one Talib on the street, they're allowed to be there, right? Like, they're not like an illegal presence, correct? Like you're allowed to be Taliban
No,
on the street?
they had the force. Yeah, they had our police cars. They were actually driving our police cars.
Oh.
The cars who used to be driven by very, nice, organized, uniformed men, now were in the hands of the Taliban with their long hairs and birds.
And who's funding them? Is it mainly Pakistan? Is there any connection to Russia, Saudi, anything like that, Iran?
Well, what my judgment has said that it's not only Pakistan. Pakistan is our neighbor. Of course, Pakistan is a safe house for them. But of course, I think it was U.S. I condemn U.S. for this because U.S. for the first time, I was one of those victims of the first time Taliban attacked 20 years ago. I was a very small kid, like barely age of my daughter, who's now. It was very easy for Talibs for US when they came at 2001. They diminished the Talibs in few nights. In a few nights, you couldn't see any Talibs. Everyone was killed. But suddenly, in 2020, man, in the few nights, the same way they diminished them, they brought them back. So I see U.S. responsible for these things because they wanted the same. If they don't wanted them, if they never wanted them, they would never allow a single Talib to come inside my city. Because they had all the powers. And of course, Pakistan is a mother for them. I assume Pakistan receives money for them. And now it's time for Russia. You see that when the Taliban came, all the foreigners were escaping from Afghanistan except Russians. Russians were very comfortable back in their embassy.
Oh, really?
And they said, we are not leaving. We are going to stay. Nothing is going to happen. So except Russian embassy, all other embassies were closed in Afghanistan. So this gives a very clear message that now American time is finished. It's done. Now it's Russian time. And now it's their turn to use our minerals and the wealth we have in our country.
There's a story here that's still unsaid by you and me, because the way you said that they diminished the Taliban in just a couple of weeks in 2001, and then suddenly in the same way they all came back, and now it's almost like a handover to the Russian government or to the Pakistanis. You wonder if what's really going on, like did the US get what they needed from it and now they're handing it over, or is it like a political thing where Joe Biden wants to be the one who ended that war and doesn't have a US presence there? Also, sorry, I would like to say a word for the soldiers that are helping you, though. Like, it's not like the U.S. means like the U.S. soldiers, because they, helped you escape, right?
Yeah.
And even in that, bomb blast, there are some young people, young, men and women, 20, 21 years old. There's a very famous blonde white girl who's holding an Afghan baby, and she died. She's from, California. And when I see that, like, none of this is her fault. She's trying to help,
Well, I tell you one thing, Afghan people and U.S. soldiers are the number one victim of U.S. policymakers.
Okay.
We both are the same side, because the U.S. soldiers, of course, they're just, serving their country, and they do what they're told. But the U.S. policy, whether it's Joe Biden, Obama, George W. Bush, whoever is the president, it doesn't matter. It's always the same. They always follow the same pattern. So it's not what Joe Biden says that he wanted to be the president who take all the responsibility. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense. He could be anyone. He could be in A, B, C. We don't care. The thing that happened was the U.S. policy never changed. The same way they came to our country, they both killed so many of their own soldiers, and of course what happened on 9/11 was also made by the U.S. And the way they diminished all the Talibs was only to deceive us for few years, like 20 years, and use all our wealth, the minerals we had, and then their time was finished. Now that was the time for them to hand us over to China, and like they did, and Russia. So they went back, and now Russian and China's are in our country. They got the Bagram Airport. Bagram Airport was taken over by Chinese and also Russians. They're now, right now, as I'm talking with you, they're using our wealth as means of mines and minerals. And I tell you one thing, in few more years, they will come back and the same history will repeat itself as it has been being repeated. And back 50, 60 years, the history is repeating itself. It will repeat more and more. The thing is that it will create more victims. So we left our country because we didn't want our kids to be victim like we are.
Well, I'm glad you left, and I'm glad that you got a chance to leave. I'm glad that you're somewhere else.
Yes, thank you. One of the good points for all these bad things that happen, I always see is that, Afghans nowadays, if you see them, all the world are accepting them as refugees, like Europe, America, everywhere are accepting Afghans. They're giving priority to the Afghans to come to their country. So this is a chance for us to come to the West and use, the knowledge which is here, the educational opportunities which are in the West. We will use them because this generation of Afghans, in my generation, we are here. We will use all the opportunities we have here, and we will go back to our country. We will not stay here forever. So once our country is peace again, we will go back and we will get the responsibilities with more achievements, and we will serve our countries better than before.
We have a friend. How do you know Ziad? Did he come to your? Did he come to your office, to your clinic?
It's a very long and interesting story. I must tell you that.
Please.
I used to have a clinic, I told you, and I was working very hard in my clinic. And like 1 year and a half ago, it was month of the May. It was the Muslims Ramadan month, and I had this fasting. So I used to come earlier from clinic to break my fast. I came around 5 p.m. because I had a very busy day. I came around 5 or 5:30 p.m. at home, and I just wanted to check the Facebook. There I saw this news that there was a huge bomb blast and so many kids and mothers were killed. So I saw this picture of a who had injuries, and this struck me so hard that I just sat and kept crying. So I saw my husband came and asked me what happened, and I told that I need to find this. So he told me that it was just like an hour to our fast breaking time. So what happened that after the fast breaking time, me and a brother of my husband, we took a taxi and contacting a few friends. I found out that in a Indira Gandhi hospital supported by India. So we made our way to the Indira Gandhi hospital, and they're searching for the. I found the. I have the videos that the first time I found the was inside the room, and the seemed in a very bad condition. I asked. By the time I saw the, I started crying because there was only a relative of the self, but the. So I asked if the has eaten anything. They said no. The 8 a.m. killed around 10 a.m. and was shot by 3 bullets. So I managed to to just quickly buy a change the and everything. Then I went to talk with the doctor, and I asked the doctor that what's going to happen to this. The doctor told me that they were going to amputate the whole. So this I asked if there was anything else we could do for the to amputate. They said that there is no way. I knew that there was a French hospital supported by Afghan. So I asked the doctor if we could carry the French hospital, which was a private hospital. The doctor said, if you take the responsibility, I will, sign the files. I said, yes, I will take the responsibility. And there was an aunt of the was with her. So I talked with them. They were Pashtuns. They were talking in Pashto. I told them that if you let them in this hospital, they have no facility. They will amputate. So let's carry this. I will take all the financial burden on myself. Let's do it. Let's carry it somewhere better. And then around 9 p.m., we were able to get taxis and carry to the French hospital. By the time they saw the, it was, I have the photos. It was horrible. The bullets. But by the time killed, she was and whole one side of like blue. It was hurt so much. I don't know how. So when we reached to the hospital, they said if the has a name, and we had no name. So there was the first. They told me that they will put ICU, and it will cost around 5,000 Afghanis per night. So no, actually 20,000 Afghanis per night. That's a huge amount. The only thing I could think was, because I was not a rich person, so I had a car. I told myself I will sell my car and give the money to the treatment of. And there was fortunately there was a doctor who came from France. He had a PhD in connecting the vessels. So when doctors saw the, felt that there's a huge possibility that they will amputate the, but they will keep the in the ICU for one night and see. So we came back home in the ICU, and the whole night I was sitting, on our prayer mattress and just praying for God that please help this. Don't let her, get disabled by, amputating. Around 6 a.m., the doctor called us from hospital. They said that they need blood. They're going to operate the and see the chances. So the blood group was something rare, -A. It was very hard. So I made a Facebook post writing, anyone who has RH minus A group, please call me. And I put my phone number. I received so many phone calls. So many people came there to give had an operation for like 4 or 5 hours. And after the operation, I was told that fortunately, they're going to have. So this was the very good news I heard. And it was a coronavirus, COVID-19 time. The hospitals were restricted. And we were able to keep the for 24 days in the hospital. And every single day I was going to, so many mothers coming to, and the whole time she was in the hospital, received so many gifts from people, and so many mothers came. So by the time I got the news that now ready to go back home, so because the was a very he didn't have a good income, so I carried the bit of my and everything my had to the house of the and made a very good bed. I have the videos, and we made these balloons and these carried. So now I'm happy. I just received a video of yesterday. The sent me the walking with. So it was it made me cry seeing walking on feet. So after a few months, I received another operation, and I'm thankful to the doctors who made it possible for. So after 2-3 operations, now years old and walking.
I just sent you a photo of the snow and standing upright. I just sent it to your WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Super cute picture.
That's that photo with these clothes. These clothes were a gift given by one of my friends. Her name is she's actually Indian living in America. Her name is Deepali. So she gave clothes last year, and now she's wearing and walking. It's very cute.
It's very cute. Absolutely. How do we get them out?
Oh, yes, this is a concern of mine. Keeps contacting me, and because a few of her colleagues are getting disappeared and getting arrested. Even one of her colleagues was he told me that he saw him getting arrested by Taliban. I don't know, but I would like to, I would like to be on the list for evacuation. I really wish to come to the West and have a life where he can get a full education, where he can be something, a real hero. So I don't know. I really want this to make this possible for her. And she has a sister and a brother. They're all. I don't know if you know any people.
I mean, I've been in contact with 3 congressmen's office. 2 of them stopped responding after this is not in the news anymore. One of them is still responding to me, but she basically admitted that it's kind of like kicking the can down the road. Then there's this group called Afghan Evac, and they're inundated with work, and so they haven't really responded yet either. And then I even asked one of the congressman's office if I can smuggle because I'm a sailor and I'm a pilot. I was like, look, maybe even I can figure out a way. And she said, I'm not telling you to do that. So even she's not, she's kind of, condoning it in a way. So I'm not sure what to do. You had mentioned that a smuggler might be 70,000. Is that US dollars or Afghan?
No, US dollars.
US dollars, yeah. So, I mean,
it's very expensive.
And also you can't trust them either. You don't know if they're going to bring them.
No, this is very difficult to trust them. I haven't seen any family going out like this.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the got quite after this incident of killing and injuring and so many people. So like this, I bet so many Talib enemies has this news and everyone. I'm really scared for even if you cannot make to US. I know that these countries like Germany and these countries, they are accepting so many refugees, and I think really deserves to be out of Afghanistan and be in a better situation. I don't know if you have any contact with the European evacuation people who work for them.
No, one of the congressmen said to talk to Switzerland and to talk to Germany, and I had written her asking her how to do that, and I haven't received anything back. Is there anything that you know that I should know about, like on how to get connected to Germany or Switzerland or maybe or something?
Well, I cannot say anything because how I got visa was it just happened so quick. But maybe I can discuss it with people here, people I know here, if there's any way for him to get out. And the doesn't even have a job now. He used to make Scott as a taxi, work with Scott as a taxi, but right now here to get out and keeps changing his address.
Sorry, keep going. I didn't mean to.
No, please, you say. I had nothing.
What would happen if got disappeared, which means got killed? What would happen to children?
This is what I'm scared because, to be honest, these Talibs, they're not fond of any kids, and especially kids, that they were very became a symbol of the terror and the horrors Talibs were making. It was everywhere, even on the BBC, on the CNN, on local news. So like a symbol for them. They are scared of such and such people. So this concerns me a lot about, because there are a few thousand of people like the same job. I'm not worried about the, but I'm worried about the for killing. This is this what made so many people, the international community, to condemn Taliban for being being terrorists and these things. So maybe being on the news, the stories we made, this could help evacuation case for.
So they would probably kill the children?
Like they tried. They fired.
When they attacked, and by the way, I think in like the final edit of this, I might have to bleep out all of these details, because I don't really want people to know exactly his story. I mean, like I want the public to know, but I don't want the Taliban to know who we're exactly speaking of until it's safe,
Yeah.
But
sure.
When I read that news story, one thing that I noted was that they said that the attack went unclaimed. And I had heard somebody say it's because it was such a horrific act that, you know what? Can you hear my dog?
It's all It's all right.
Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. My dog is
Yeah.
going out for a walk, so she's very excited.
Okay.
Someone's taking her out
All
now.
right.
Um,
Okay.
okay. One thing I noticed after that story is that nobody laid claim for that attack. And I had heard somebody interpret that as after the attack, it was so horrific to them.
It's all right.
Yeah, that it was so horrific that they decided not to claim that they did the attack. But we know that it is the Taliban, right?
Of course, actually, what happened was at the first moments of the attack, they claimed that they have hit a place of the foreigners or agents of foreigners, something like this. They said, but when the real pictures came out, then they said no, it was not us. It was the same what happened to Kabul University. You know, at first they said that they got the responsibility, but then they refused that no, it was not us. It could be ISIS or anyone. But everyone knows, you know, this is like even a kid in Afghanistan knows that it was Taliban who did the attack.
So was that a mistake? So did they actually mistakenly kill the wrong group, or is it because they realized that like the PR of it looks so bad?
The thing is, what happens is in Afghanistan, this minor ethnicity of Hazaras, the Dasht-e-Barchi is a place where these minor ethnic group of Hazaras are living. So this hospital is quite for Hazaras, not for anyone else. These who is Pashtun, he accidentally ended up in this, you know, because if you see most of the who were killed, they are Hazaras, and they are killing Hazaras like now. Just a few days ago, they killed a very young girl, Hazara, who in a checkpoint, who had a master's degree from American University for Afghanistan. And just a few days ago, you know, they're killing Hazaras on a daily basis, and the whole world knows this. It's because of their being Shia. Their religious desires are Shiite, not Sunnis, and these Talibs are all Sunnis. So everyone knows that, and all that were Hazaras, and the guards, and these Pashtuns, they accidentally, you know, because if you hear from the family didn't want to carry they actually went to another there. They said that they don't have the facility. This had so much facilities, so that's why after, you know, visiting 2-3 they came accidentally to this, and this is what happened. And so many who are killed, they're all Hazaras. And
it's mainly just because of this Sunni Shia division?
Yeah, it's happening. You see, like a few months ago, we have had so many bomb blasts in Shia's mosque, Shia's masjid. Hundreds of Shias are got killed. We had it in Kandahar, we had in Herat, and then as I tell you, Shias and Hazaras are getting killed on a daily basis in Afghanistan, unfortunately.
Are you a practicing Muslim?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you're an educated person, you're a practicing Muslim. What do you think about the futility or I mean, that's such a stupid thing. They're killing each other based on division within the same religion.
The thing
is religion to blame there?
Of course not. This is very stupid thing to separate Muslims and Shias and Sunnis, but this is a very powerful weapon for those who want to fight in my country, making people Shia, Sunni, Hazara, Pashtun, Tajik. This is a very powerful because Afghanistan is a very diverse country. So they use this point of diversity as our weak point. This is how they make us fight each other and kill each other. And now if you go to Afghanistan, Shias hate Sunnis, Sunnis hate Shias.
And then
they're working on our minds.
And then governments use this to get their economic advantage from that country.
True. True.
Is it possible to fly into Afghanistan now or no?
No way.
No way, right?
No. Even if in Afghanistan, there's no flight back from Afghanistan.
Right, okay.
You can't get off Afghanistan, unfortunately.
I like your tattoo. What is it?
Well, it's a symbol of freedom. It's a
Amazing. I love
with
that.
some birds. Yeah,
Did you get
because
that in Afghanistan or here?
no, in your country,
Oh, here?
India.
Oh, in India.
No.
Okay. When did you go to India?
Well, we love India. Me and my husband, we used to make holiday trips every 6 months or at least every year. We were spending in India a few weeks, getting refreshed and coming back in Afghanistan. Like I told you, the quality of life, the level of life we had in Afghanistan was not less than any European or American life. We had everything we needed.
Well, hopefully it'll come back soon. In my mind, I need to find a way to get Ziad's family out of there before it's too late.
Yes, please.
And even what's sad then is I happen to only know about family. That doesn't mean that's the last family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there are too many families like, but the risk for is high because he became very, he's not good for you. So
Right.
the situation right now, if they find him, they will kill him and probably kill the kids as well. So that's what I'm scared, and I wish to be out of Afghanistan. I wish a very bright future for the kids. They're like my own kids.
Yeah.
Any country except Afghanistan, anywhere.
Yeah. Fawzia Kufi. Do we know about her?
Yes,
What do you
I've
think
read her book.
She got shot even while she was at the negotiating table with the US and the Taliban. She was shot on the way home or something like that. And she was only female at that negotiating table, right?
Yeah, there was they put a mine, a detonator in her car, and she got injured. What do you want me to tell about her? Okay.
We're good. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
You were saying?
Yes, I was just asking. You wanted to ask something about Fawzia Kufi?
Yeah. What are your, what are your thoughts on her? And is she still in Afghanistan now?
No, of course not.
She left. Yeah. Okay. Right. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, I see Fawzia Kufi. I have to be honest. She's a very strong woman. She's a very successful politician. She did a lot for my country. I've read her book. I know the story of her life, and unlike so many other women who were only trying to use for their own benefit, I have lots of respect for Mrs. Kofi. She's a true and a very educated politician, and I know she will come back to Afghanistan by the time she feels safe. She had to leave Afghanistan because some people in Afghanistan, they still say that why these women left Afghanistan. Well, if they never left, they could have gotten killed, and who would be responsible for them. But now they're safe, they will come back, I'm sure. She's not a kind of a woman to to go and enjoy a Western life. I'm sure she will come back, and she's a very strong woman.
Alrighty. Well, look, I don't want to keep you too long.
It's all right.
What's for dinner tonight? Are you guys making anything good?
Yes, I have planned to cook some pizza because my husband loves pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So and my daughter also as well. What's
your favorite dish from the home country? What should I try out if I get a chance to?
Oh, please. We would love to have you here. And I know you can travel here, so I'm a very good cook.
Okay.
And I cook you, yes, and I cook you anything. We have our food, Afghanistan food is very delicious, like Indian food.
Yeah.
So we have this qabli. You're a vegetarian or?
No. I eat everything.
Okay, so we have qabli. It's a qabli Uzbeki. It's made of rice and meat. It's a very typical food for the whole Afghanistan, but coming from the north of Afghanistan. Also, we have a bouilloni. Bouilloni is you cook it with the bread and potatoes and also some meat inside the bread. We have oshak. Oshak is a very popular, my favorite. You put the spinach and you just steam it with dough. And we have mantu. Mantu is you steam meat with the inside dough. You steam it. So we have. I just made some chaka. Chaka is something you make from. What's that? It's like raita. You make it from yogurt. So you put yogurt on something, and just let the water go, and you have this like cheese, but it's not cheese. It's chaka. So you eat it with pumpkins. You have it with. You can have it with so many things, and we have kruti. Kruti is a very local Afghan dish. You have chaka with bread and with some walnuts and with some hot oil and some fried onions. So anytime you come, I have too many things to cook for you.
I regret asking the question because now I'm starving. So let's wrap on this one question. What do you want to tell people? What do you wish the world knew that you know? It sounds like we already covered, most of it, or some of it, but you can use my future daughter as an example, or just the world. Like, what do you know that you wish people know? What do you want to get off your chest?
I have a few things to say. One of the things is don't trust the media. Media has always been number one liars. They're not reflecting the realities on the ground. Like right now, there are too many women in Afghanistan. They're fighting for their rights and they're getting killed. But the whole focus of the media is on what the Taliban are doing, not how the resistance is going on.
Okay, right.
And the other thing is that Afghans, they will not lose their hopes. They will not accept slavery of any country, especially the women. They need their world to give them attention, to protect them, to support them to reach their rights. They will, because after all these things that happen to Afghanistan, we will not just sit and continue, our life, even if we are in the West, even if we are safe. We will just not shut our mouths and continue a peaceful life. We will raise our voice and we will ask for our rights who were stolen by US. And we should not be deceived by these world powers like US and Russians. They will only think of their own benefits, not the people's benefits. So I want the people of the world to support the people of Afghanistan. I don't want the governments to, because they will never do that. They haven't done that. The only thing they can do, the offer is to deceive. They deceive us. So we don't trust any governments. We only trust the people, and we want the people of the world to support women in Afghanistan, get earn their rights, and get what they really deserve.
Excellent.
And the women in Afghanistan, I want to mention this thing also. The women in Afghanistan, they don't want anything, only the right to go to school,
right,
go to university, and get a job and be part of the government, to go do good service, and provide service for the people. This
right.
is the only thing that they don't want to be singers. They don't want to be popular. They don't want to, do these odd things, other women do. They are the true feminists. They're the very honest feminists, fighting for their very basic rights, and they need lots of support. They cannot do it on their own.
That's a very important message. I couldn't agree more. They're asking for just their basic human rights.
Yeah,
that's a chance to be educated and to work.
Human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you mind coming back in a few weeks or few months as stories develop, as you learn more, as I learn more? Maybe we'll have some good news to share, hopefully.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Sure. I would like to make my life here, make myself something here. I appreciate the government for providing us safe places.
Yeah.
I would like to serve the people here, But my intention is going back to Afghanistan and serve the people who really deserve.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thanks for
Let's
knowing
keep in
me. It was
touch.
nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you. Take care.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Have a good day. Bye bye. Bye bye.